Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. We are continuing with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2. We completed up to almost verse 17, so I'll recite 18, what I just did. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Purport. Here is the remedy for eliminating all inauspicious things within the heart, which are considered to be obstacles in the path of self-realization. The remedy is the association of the Bhagavatas. There are two types of Bhagavatas, namely the book Bhagavata and the devotee Bhagavata. Both the Bhagavatas are competent remedies, and both of them or either of them can be good enough to eliminate the obstacles. A devotee Bhagavat is as good as the book Bhagavat, because the devotee Bhagavat leads his life in terms of the book Bhagavat, and the book Bhagavat is full of information about the personality of Godhead and his pure devotees who are also Bhagavatas. Bhagavat book and person are identical. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So once again, thanks to all of you for joining for this Bhagavatam class. And we see in the remaining verses of this chapter, number 2, Sutta Goswami is again stressing on the very, very important point, and that is Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's situated in the heart as Paramatma, and he's a benefactor. We learned this in the Bhagavad Gita also, that he is within the heart. So he is there to help us, to guide us, to witness our activities, and also he cleanses our desires, which are there for materialistic life. And all those who are eager to hear, they are the ones who are able to cleanse the desires from the heart. And of course, we know even from the Bhagavad Gita, there is no difference between Krishna and his holy name. It's the same. And the best part Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said in Kali Yuga is, one can chant anytime, anywhere, no fixed rules at all. But we must chant with attention. Attentive chanting is very, very important. Everything, the whole Krishna consciousness is based on attentive chanting. That is the very first step, because until and unless we, sincerely try to achieve that position of chanting attentively, everything else will not be so very clear to us. Even the knowledge, to understand the knowledge, we need the mercy of the Lord. And the mercy will come when Krishna sees our sincere endeavors, and he will reciprocate. Like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajami. As one surrenders unto me, I reward them accordingly. So it is based on our endeavors. How much do we want to? We choose, we decide, okay, is this going to be my last birth in this material world? If no, then I can take it slow, like, slow and steady. Or, no, this is my last birth, then we have to put in all that sincere effort. Now, today's verse that we read, where, it's very, very clearly mentioned that regular attendance in Bhagavatam class, regular. It's not that we hear one time and then, we don't hear for a couple of months or a couple of weeks. No, regular. Now we have these classes once a month, but on your own, you can read Srimad Bhagavatam every day. That's a very, very good habit. It is said that just like an apple a day keeps doctor away, reading one or hearing one Bhagavatam class a day will keep Maya away. So here in this verse, today's verse we read, it says by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to pure devotees. Because when Krishna sees our efforts to serve a pure devotee, that pleases him a lot. And then what is the result? All that is troublesome in the heart is almost completely destroyed. And instead, loving service to Krishna is established. And we know that Krishna is praised, in all the scriptures so beautifully with those verses. He is praised with that transcendental songs, transcendental verses. So that loving service will happen when we serve a pure devotee regularly. And here, the most important line is established as an irrevocable fact. So he's giving a guarantee that if we do that, then the obstacles from our path, spiritual path, will be removed. And this is the remedy for removing all inauspicious things in our heart. And we can see there are so many inauspicious things in the heart. They can be in a smaller degree, larger degree, that doesn't matter, but usually it's there: lust, anger, greed, pride, all these. And these all obstacles will be removed from the path of self-realization. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about two kinds of Bhagavats. One is a pure devotee Bhagavat, and the other is the book Bhagavat, like the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he says they are identical, there's no difference. Just like the holy name of Krishna and Krishna, they are identical, there is no difference. So similarly, these two Bhagavats also are identical. Why? Because the devotee Bhagavat is a direct representative of Krishna. Narad Muni, he became Narad Muni how? Just by associating with pure devotees. He he served them. He did menial service for them. And not only that, he sat down and he heard Bhagavatam from them. He took knowledge from them. He served them. He also ate the remnants, the Mahaprasad from their plates that were given to him by those sadhus. And that is how he became Narad Muni. So as long as, loving devotional service is established, that is important, then only the anarthas will be removed. And this will lead the devotee to go to the platform of pure goodness. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma na shochati na kankshati. You see, that self-realized, that pure devotee has no lamentations, no cravings, I want this or that. No, is completely satisfied, self-satisfied. That is unalloyed mode of pure goodness. And in that mode, the mind becomes enlivened. Why? Because of performance of devotional service on a regular basis. And that leads one to the stage of liberation. Liberation doesn't happen after we die. We can still be liberated. We can be in that state of liberation even while in this body. It's just a matter of consciousness. And Krishna tells us in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabaha. Such a great soul is very rare. One who understands Krishna as the Supreme Lord and he is the cause of all causes. He takes on knowledge and puts it into practice. Then that devotee attains success in human life. You see, from Bhagavad Gita, we've understood I'm not this body, but I'm the spirit soul. We understand from Bhagavad Gita what is our relationship with Krishna. Jivira Swarup hoy, Krishna ra Nitya Das. We are Nitya Das. We are not Sunday Das, Monday Das, once a week Das. No, Nitya, eternal. But we try to become, controllers ourselves. It's only when we are hearing Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, then we say, oh yes, I am Nitya Das. But as soon as we are out of the class, then we think I am the controller, I am the one, everyone else is my Das, I am the controller, and I can do whatever I want to do. But we need to keep this in our consciousness that I am the eternal servant of Krishna. And gradually, if we have not yet, then gradually we come to the mode of goodness. And then once we come to the mode of goodness, then we can try to become a devotee. Then try to inculcate all the qualities of a Brahmana, become a Brahmana. Brahmana is not by birth. Brahmana is by qualifications. And once we come to the stage of a Brahmana, then we can go to the stage of a Vaishnava. Vaishnava means on the transcendental stage, which is called the Vasudeva stage. And that's the pure stage. So that is the position of a Vaishnava. Then all the misgivings which are there in the heart, that knot of misgivings is cut into pieces by the mercy of Krishna. Then one will understand the difference between the soul and the super soul. And all this happens with the practice of Bhakti Yoga. Krishna is in the heart and he can easily remove all the misgivings. But we need to make that first effort. That first step has to be taken by us. He does not interfere with our minute independence, that little independence that we have. He doesn't want us, if he wants, he can force us to love him, but he will not do that. Because in the matter of love, there should be no force. It has to come from within. We have to decide, yes, I really think that whatever instructions are given in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, they are for my benefit. And accept that, contemplate on that, and then work on it in the sense, put it into practice. And not just go by what I think, oh, according to me, I should do this, this, and this for my spiritual life. Or in my opinion, this is the right, or this is what I've been doing for years and years, so I need to know. We have to follow the instructions as it is. Because the scriptures tell us we have 4 defects. We have imperfect senses, we have tendency to cheat, we make mistakes, and we are in illusion. These are the 4 defects. We are imperfect people. So how can we decide what is the perfect path for self-realization? No. Perfect knowledge comes from the perfect source, which is Krishna himself. And Krishna is telling us, Satatam kirtayanto mam. Satatam, always chanting. And he himself came 500 years ago as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The scriptures give the references. They tell us that, yes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. And why did he come? He came to show us how to become a devotee. He came to give us the knowledge. He gave us Shikshastakam prayers, the 8 beautiful verses. And the very first verse tells us about chanting. Cheto Darpanam Marjanam, how to cleanse the mirror of the heart by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. That is the process. Just like my child goes to school and the teacher says, please learn A, B, C, D. He says, no, I'm going to learn 1, 2, 3, 4. The teacher says, no, A, B, C, D. The child says, no, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 because my mom used to teach me only 1, 2, 3, 4. No, we need to follow the bona fide teacher. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came as a bona fide teacher to show us how to become a devotee. So with the help of this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, we will be able to realize ourselves. But of course, sincerity is needed. Only when Krishna sees our sincere efforts that he's going to bestow his mercy upon us. But if he sees we are not following his instructions, then he'll say, okay, you can do what you like to do. No problem. If I pick up my car keys and I tell my husband, I'm going, he says, where? I say, I don't know. I'm just going to go. He'll say, well, what can I do? Go. You will just go round, 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 and then you'll just come back home. And that'll be all waste of gas, waste of time, waste of energy, just going round, round without even knowing. So I cannot do, so when we want to do something, it has to be based on knowledge. Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam. He gives us the intelligence only when he sees we are following his instructions with love and devotion. And here we see Sutta Goswami is explaining that the transcendentalists, they render devotional service, and they've been doing this since time immemorial. And by doing so, they feel great delight and they are enlivened. And that is why even the pure devotees become attractive to us. And he says, Sutta Goswami says that Krishna, he is indirectly associated with the three modes of material nature: ignorance, passion, and goodness. And for creation, maintenance, and destruction, he accepts these three qualitative forms: Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. There is a purpose. They are the three department heads of these three modes of material nature. It's not that they are in that mode, but they are in charge of those modes. And out of these three, the devotees, they can benefit from, worshiping Lord Vishnu, who's a form of quality of goodness. And all the, not expansions, all the plenary paths of Krishna, they are all called Vishnu Tattvas. We are Jiva Tattvas. Those are Vishnu Tattvas. Srila Prabhupada says that an intelligent person will understand that this material world in which we are is like a prison house, and we are all prisoners in there. And who's the maintainer of this prison? It's Lord Vishnu. So if we want to come out of this prison house, then we need to worship Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna, and we need to please him. That is important. And how do we please? By following the instructions. In one of the verses, Sutta Goswami says that the smoke is better than the wood, and the fire is better than the smoke. So similarly, goodness is better than passion and ignorance. And those who are self-realized, or those who are trying to, they, on this path, it is possible for them to reach to the mode of goodness. And actually, that is the eligibility for devotional service. But to do that, we need training. Until and unless we have the training, proper training from proper source, we will not be able to get the benefit. Sutta Goswami continues and he says that the great sages, they also perform devotional service to Krishna. And they are also above the three modes of material nature, which means they are in the mode of pure goodness. And they worship because they wanted to become free from all material contamination. So if we follow such great authorities, then we also can get liberation. But right now, we are all in bondage. We are bound up with so many attachments, so many material desires. There's so much going on in our heads. And we have seen the material desires, they keep increasing. We fulfill one, 10 more are already there in the list. We fulfill one more, then 10 more desires are already there. It's called brainstorming. Brainstorming for material desires. Ooh, this I've satisfied. Now that's the next in the row. But the goal is to remove this bondage. We learned in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yagnarthat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. Tad artham karma kantya mukta sangha samachara. How to get mukti, how to become liberated from all these bondages. He says one has to perform sacrifices for the Lord. Everything that we do should be dovetailed in Krishna consciousness. And if we follow the footsteps of Mahajanas, there are 12 Mahajanas listed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Swayambhu Narada Shambhu Kumara Kapila Manu Prahlad Janaka Bhishma Bali Vayasaki Vayam. These are the 12 Mahajanas. So if we follow in their footsteps, try to understand their transcendental qualities of these liberated souls. And some of the qualities are like being non-envious, no envy in the heart, respect all living entities, worship Krishna and his plenary portions, but not the demigods. See, Krishna expands into integrated plenary portions and into living entities. We are also part of Krishna. Mamai Vamsha Jivaloke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. We are small amsha, small parts of Krishna. Similarly, the demigods are separated parts of Krishna. They are not the Supreme Lord. They are called demigods. They are also parts of Krishna. Of course, they are at a higher level. They are much more powerful than us, we living entities. But their powers are limited. That's important to remember. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that whoever worships the demigods, they get the benedictions from the demigods, but those benedictions actually are coming from Krishna himself. And the demigods, they are aware that they are not the Supreme Lord and that they are able to give benedictions because they are coming from Krishna himself. They are much more powerful than we are. So we should respect all, because all are parts and parcels of Krishna. Respect all of them. But understand that demigod worship will not take us to the spiritual world. So this chapter is talking about worship in different modes of material nature, just like we learned in the Bhagavad Gita. And also how, worship of demigods is also in different modes. And so there's no need to approach demigods for, material benefits. I remember many decades ago, when I was a little girl, I had gone to visit my chachi in Jaipur. I probably was 12 years old, I don't remember. And that was a time she used to go in her little temple room to do worship, to say prayers. And one day I just happened to be present also there, and she was worshiping, I think Lord Shiva, I'm not sure. And then she was praying and saying, my dear Lord, today is the result of my son's 10th class, 10th standard results are coming out. It's called a board exam. Please pass him with good marks and please give me a signal. Can you believe? She's saying, asking Lord Shiva, give me a signal, let my right eyelid flap so I will know, he's going to get good marks, whatever. And I was thinking, does Lord Shiva have nothing else to do that he's going to sit here and flap your right eyelid so that your child? No. That is business with the Lord, business with the demigods. I do this and you do this in return for me. So there's no need to approach demigods for material benefits. In Bhagavad Gita, we learned, Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritino Arjuna. Krishna says 4 kinds of pious people come to me. Those who are distressed, those who want money, those who want knowledge, and those who are inquisitive. Krishna says, no problem, come to me. Why not go to the reservoir of all the benedictions, the reservoir of pleasure? Of course, gradually we should not even approach Krishna for material benefits. We are going to get what is in our karma. Whatever we earned, we are going to get it. There's no going to be extra benefits we will receive. No. Even if we do, then there's going to be reduction in some other benefit. So it has to equal out. So why ask? Why do business with the Supreme Lord? So important to understand is that ultimate object of knowledge is Krishna. He is our spiritual goal. He is the supreme goal for us. And to reach that goal, we need to please him. And he is most pleased when we follow his instructions. Now let's take example of our children. When they follow or obey us, don't we feel happy? Oh, my child is so sweet, is listening to everything that I say. I don't know if that happens nowadays. In my days, when I was a little girl, there was no way I could even lift my eyelids and look at my parents. That much respect was there. They said, sit down, you don't argue. And I'd say, why should I sit down? I don't feel like sitting down. I feel like standing, or I feel like what? No. Obeying parents was the topmost priority. And of course, I have a grandson who's almost 13, so you can imagine a teenager. There has to be arguments. Liam, come on, it's time for dinner. Oh no, I'm not hungry. Why should I eat now just because you want to eat now? I don't want, I'll eat when I feel like. You see? So it's important to understand following instructions of the Supreme Lord is for our own benefit. And when he sees our sincere endeavors, he rewards us. But for that, severe austerity is needed. Anything. Now, if I want to do a PhD, it's going to be very austere. If I want to do MBA, or if I want to, take part in Olympics or whatever it may be, something really big involves austerity. It requires a lot of our, efforts, so many hours, say for PhD, so many hours of research and, hardly get any sleep. That's austerity. Similarly, there's austerity involved in spiritual life also. What are the different austerities is, observing Ekadashi, fasting, not eat grains and beans on Ekadashi, two Ekadashis in a month. And guess what? Scientifically, it's proved. The scientists say that giving a rest to the digestive system once a fortnight is very good for the health of the body, because grains and beans are very hard to digest. So we just give a break to our digestive system twice a month. But we get the spiritual benefit out of it. Even though we are thinking of it scientifically for our body, but we are benefiting spiritually also. So observing Ekadashi, chanting every day. Chanting what? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. This is the pill, the medicine Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us to remove the disease of Maya from our heart. When I'm sick, I go to the doctor. Doctor gives me a prescription. When I fill that prescription and come home, if I decide I'm going to take the medicine that I want to take, I will not be able to take out the disease from my body. The Supreme Lord, he knows what kind of disease we have, and that is why he's given the prescription. So observing Ekadashi, chanting, hearing, reading Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and serving devotees. And we can serve the devotees only when we associate with them. Just like right now, we are associating with each other. We are hearing the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this all is austerity. So when we perform austerities for spiritual life, then we get full benefit. And the purpose of all these scriptures that are given to us, Srimad Bhagavatam, as you can see behind all those books, they are the summary of the Vedas. And the purpose of Vedas or of this knowledge is to revive our lost loving devotional service to Krishna. In fact, when the first created being Brahma appeared from the lotus that sprouted from the navel of Lord Vishnu, that Vishnu is called Garbhodakshai Vishnu. The first word that Brahmaji heard was tapa, austerity. Dear Brahma, now that you have appeared, perform austerity. What does austerity mean? Voluntarily accepting bodily discomfort or bodily pain. It is not easy to sit in one place and chant. The body, the knees, especially I'm talking about old people like me, the knees are hurting, the legs are hurting, you have to keep changing our positions because it's uncomfortable. It's austerity. But to achieve the higher end of life, spirituality, we need to accept bodily pain. The mind says, no, you should do this, but the scriptures are saying, no, do this. That is also an austerity, not to listen to the mind. But the end goal is to develop loving service to Krishna, loving devotional service. So Suta Goswami, he continues in more verses and he's explaining that in the beginning of creation, Krishna first created energies. How? By his own internal energy. But he remains unaffected. He doesn't get affected by whatever he's creating. He's unaffected by creation or by different modes of material nature. Why? Because he's transcendental. He existed before the creation and he will always exist. He's all spiritual. You see? Then after that, he expanded and entered into everything. But even though he entered, like he is within our hearts as Kshirodakshai Vishnu, he is within heart of each and every one of us as super soul, he still remains the same. That does not change his transcendental position. Om Purnam Adapurnam Idam. He is Purnam, he is whole. Even though so many parts come out of him, we are also parts of him, demigods are part of him, still he remains the whole. Not HOLE, but WHOLE. He remains complete, whole. And we conditioned souls, we are put into this material world. But he's so compassionate as Paramatma, excuse me, as Paramatma Super Soul. He comes with us from one body to another. We are jumping, hopping like monkeys from one branch to another, one body to another. And he's jumping with us. He's coming with us. So the spirit soul and the super soul go from one body to another, another. I guess Krishna will say, I'm tired of hopping with you. Stop this hopping and then come back to the spiritual world where there's permanent happiness. But the purpose of him being in the heart, Suta Goswami is saying, is to guide us back to the spiritual world. But again, choice is ours. If we want to hear his instructions or we don't want to hear. But he will always be present as super soul in our heart. And we can understand or realize him as a super soul with the help of Bhakti Yoga. When we chant attentively, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. By chanting, by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, we will be able to realize the super soul within our heart. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. Then he will say, Dadami Buddhi, he'll give that intelligence that we'll be able to understand Srimad Bhagavatam. Otherwise, it's going to be just an oral reception. You hear from one ear and then it comes out from another ear. But for it to stay inside, it is important to chant. Because chanting gives us that spiritual strength. It purifies even the finer brain tissues so that we can understand this high level Srimad Bhagavatam. So as Paramatma, he enters into the hearts and he causes the living entities to enjoy the effects of modes by the subtle mind. And that all happens based on our desires, based on our past karma. That's why we suffer or we enjoy. But when we enjoy, we give the credit to ourselves. When we suffer, we blame him. We say, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you doing your job? Your job is to keep me happy all the time. Is that his job? No, that is our job. We perform activities in such a way that we decide based on our activities, are we going to suffer or we are going to enjoy? So this body that we have got this in this birth, it's based on our past desires and karma. It's based on the condition of our subtle mind. You know, it says, man proposes, God disposes. So he's there in the heart to sanction our desires. But we have to be smart enough to choose what kind of desires we should have. And he's so kind. He does not leave us. He's there with us in every body. You know, according to the scriptures, it said, in the heart, there is the soul and the super soul. They are like two birds sitting on a tree. One is enjoying the fruits of the tree. The other one is just witnessing. So who do you think is witnessing? We? And Krishna is enjoying? No, we are enjoying and he is the witness. It's like our heart is like a nest, and in that nest, two birds are there, soul and super soul in it. He's just there to protect us, to guide us. You know, sometimes when we are doing something, we think, oh, our mind is telling us something. Don't do it. It's not right. Mind is, no, that's the super soul guiding us. It's a wrong thing. Don't do it. But then we have a choice whether to listen to that voice or listen to our own selves. So finally, in this chapter, Sutta Goswami says that Krishna, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, maintains all living entities. He maintains everything. He incarnates. Different incarnations are there. Incarnations are called avatars. So there are Leela avatar, Guna avatar, Yuga avatar. You see, there are so many, Shaktavesha avatar. There's so many different kinds of incarnations. So Krishna incarnates and he performs pastimes so that we, conditioned souls, can be reclaimed, brought to the level of pure goodness, and we can go back to Godhead. Of course, later on, we will hear about innumerable planets, universes, how Krishna enters into each one of them, how he manifests his pastimes. But why all this knowledge? So that we get attracted to Krishna. Of course, sometimes he incarnates himself. Sometimes he empowers a suitable living entity to do that. But the main purpose for everything is to bring us back to our original home, which is Krishna Loka, where there is permanent happiness. Unfortunately, we have become forgetful. We've forgotten. We've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten our eternal position. We have forgotten our original home, Krishna Loka. And that is why we are suffering in this material world. But he's so kind. He sent Srila Prabhupada, a very powerful personal representative of Krishna. He sent him to give us these purports in all these verses, to make us understand, to guide us. That is why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in chapter 4, Tad vidhi pranipadena pariprashnena sevaya upadyakshinti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. He has sent tattvadarshinaha, someone who has seen the truth. He has sent bona fide spiritual masters so that we can inquire submissively, render service unto such a bona fide spiritual master. And then that self-realized soul will impart knowledge unto us, which will make us self-realized. So taking guidance from a bona fide spiritual master is very important because he can train us how to become fully Krishna conscious. The process is very simple: hearing, chanting, reading, worshipping, associating with devotees, getting trained. Then gradually, with our sincere efforts, we can liberate ourselves and come to pure Krishna consciousness. Of course, Krishna consciousness is pure, but what I meant is full Krishna consciousness. So this is how this chapter ends. I know it's a very big chapter. This is just the beginning. So I'm going to end here. If anyone has any questions.